What would you like to do for the earth? Are you into the planting trees?
I'm very allergic.
Yeah, same.
Very allergic. So I love the earth, but the earth doesn't love me.
Hello, and welcome back to the Croak and Crow podcast, baby.
We haven't done that for a while.
I am Spencer Cartier.
And I am Jelly Bean.
And this here is Frank, looking lavish. Now, before we start, there's been something that I've wanted to say that I haven't said yet. I quit. No. We have been doing this for 2 years now. As of recently, just so you guys know, we are officially a podcast now. Yeah. You might ask, guys, what the hell have you been before? We have been only on YouTube. We have been a video podcast kind of thing. Now we are on podcast. Right now it's just Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But soon it'll be on other platforms. But just so you know, if you're going on a drive and you just want to listen, you don't want to see our pretty faces, now you can. The option's
there. If you're jogging.
We're jogging.
You know, before they were holding the phone and watching, they were falling.
Yeah.
They were They were getting
I'm sure
vertigo.
A lot of people have tumbled down cliffs.
Tumbled off cliffs.
Being forced to watch Croak and Crow rather than listen.
You can now listen. Yeah. And you can also tell people that you want to benefit that they could listen. Yeah.
And it's like, where do I listen? You don't have to say YouTube.
Right.
Because then someone might say, that's watch, sir.
Yeah.
Now you can say, oh, well, if you have Apple Podcasts or Spotify, then you can listen to
Croak and Crow.
Croak and Crow.
Does it say Croak and Crow podcast or Croak and Crow?
I don't know. Anyway, guys, yeah, that's a little news, a little Friday news I thought I'd give you. Check it out. What else? It's been a good week.
Happy birthday, Alexandria.
Happy birthday, Alexandria.
This has become the birthday show.
This has become, it's been the holiday show, and I guess birthdays are a holiday in a way. Yeah. Happy birthday, someone else.
Alexandria is 42 years old today.
Oh, Good for her.
It's a joke that she's 42, but I thought if I said that, the only way that she can get mad at me is if she had watched.
Or listened.
We're a
podcast now.
And so it was a little test.
Yeah.
It was a little test. You know, once Beyonce put out fake news about, I think, her first baby to her friends, and it got leaked.
Yeah.
So then she knew.
That her friends?
She knew someone wasn't to be trusted with the real news.
Yeah. Well, didn't Taylor Swift do that?
Did she?
But she did. She had a friend group. These could be one of these stories that
That's true.
But
you fill in the blank of the celebrity.
Yeah, but the idea there was that she had a friend group and she told them all a different version.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
Told them all a different version of the story. And so when the story finally leaked, the version that leaked was the rat friend.
Right.
I'm going to do that with my friends.
Get them first and then do it.
Well, yeah, I can imagine if I had them. Maybe that's why I don't have them.
If I had friends, I would prank them.
If I had friends, I would find out which one was against me.
So happy birthday, Alexandria.
Happy birthday, Alexandria. Happy birthday to
the Earth.
The Earth. It was on this day.
I don't think it's their Earth. Is their birth Earth Day? Is it?
Yeah,
Come on.
It's spelled BEARTH.
Is it?
Day.
That's cool. BEARTH Day.
Birthday. It's on April 22nd, year 0.
No, it was born in 1970.
The Earth?
Yeah.
Well, I just said year 0 as if I think the whole world was started 2,000 years ago.
Wasn't it? What? Where am I? Something 1970. People were like, you know what? We're kind of treating the Earth bad, and we better start working on it. I saw a thing. I always say,
which is funny. Sorry to cut you off, because it seems like from 1970 to now is when we've really done the damage.
I know. Well, the 70s was very hippy dippy, and it was very
that's true.
Let's be natural,
natural, no deodorant.
I always say I saw a thing, and I never know what it's called. It's not a meme, and it's not a nothing. It's just like a funny square.
It's a meme.
That's a meme, okay?
Yeah. You and your funny squares.
A meme. And it said, they always say there's plenty of fish in the sea. So it's when they're discussing, don't worry about the lover that you lost.
Yeah.
There's plenty of fish in the sea. And this thing said there's also a trash pile the size of Texas. So be careful out there.
That is good. There is a lot of
trash in the sea.
You know, there's this thing about, I think we've talked about this before, about plastic straws.
Yeah. I would never do that, especially on
Is that a plastic straw?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would never do that, especially on Earth Day.
So last time, I don't know, like last time I had an opinion on it, which was, like people, you can't use plastic straws. You're making me use paper straws. Did you know that makes up not a minuscule amount of ocean waste? Majority of it is commercial fishing.
Okay.
Like 75% of ocean trash is from commercial fishing.
Yeah.
And that's like the real problem.
Nets and cords and
But now that I think
bags.
about it now, is like, is that a good argument?
No.
It's not a good argument to say, well, they're doing something worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I slapped my wife, but they're over there
Chopping wives' heads off.
Wives' heads off. That's
Yeah.
pretty dark for Earth
Everyone
Day.
has to do their little part.
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah.
Well, you know what I do?
What do you do?
Little known, but I'll tell you. Every straw that I use, true story, I keep, and I am building a coffin for myself. It will not be biodegradable, but most coffins aren't, so I feel okay about it. But yeah, I'm weaving them. When I die, number one, people will be impressed at the craftsmanship of the coffin, and number two, I know that they're not ending up in the ocean because I have them in my work shed.
Okay, it doesn't seem very stable.
For a coffin,
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. I have a lot of straws.
Okay, well that's good. But if they don't, I don't think that's good because then you bury them.
I'm not going to bury mine.
Oh,
I'm being suspended from a crane.
Okay, knock it off. It's Earth Day. What do you do for Earth Day? I remember back in school you used to do what? Would it not have school or you get out half? No, you wouldn't have school, but you were supposed to.
Oh yeah, you had to go like plant a tree.
Yeah, you were supposed to go and do something for the Earth. I don't know. What would you like to do for the Earth? Are you into the planting trees?
I'm very allergic.
Yeah, same.
Very allergic. So I love the Earth, but the Earth doesn't love me.
That's true. The Earth is always attacking me.
Always.
I go out and I get my allergies.
Talk about falling. You know, the people listening or watching.
A lot of uneven ground on the Earth.
I fall. I need the man-made ground to be able to walk.
Oh, it's true.
The air betrays me.
Yeah.
And I'm very fair-skinned. The sun burns me.
Yeah. Well, it's not Sunday, but it's Earth Day. It's Friday. It's not Sunday. It's Friday.
Wind blows in my face.
Yeah.
You know, my very best friend, he was driving in a car and wind blew through the window and literally tore his cornea or, you know.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
Not from the wind, but it brought a piece of natural.
Yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying.
Natural debris.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh. What else does the Earth do? Yeah, it,
But it's a necessary evil.
no. You know what?
We have to have
now
it.
that you're saying all these things, I'm not liking the Earth so much.
You have to.
I don't want to.
You have to.
No, I'm not going to love my abuser. Nah, the Earth is sweet, man. We talk with a spiritual podcast, and we talk about earthly. How often do we talk about earthly, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you're living an earthly life. We're meant to do this on this earthly world, spiritual world, earthly world. With that being said, the purpose of the earth and this earthly world and life before heaven is to navigate and learn and be able to become a full person. Mm-hmm. And with that said, you know, like if you are, we've compared it to a sandbox or whatever. You want to keep your space healthy and happy and nice. And we're only here temporarily, and generations will be here after us. And I think the goal is, especially as us spiritual people who value the earth as this place that you are formed and grow and learn to love before heaven, we want to take care of it.
It's a wonderful meditative focal point.
Yeah.
We always talk about the seasons changing and how we change the night to day. And like if I just stare at this wall, you know, it's nothing. I'm just staring at the wall. But if I go and stare at the ground, I will see maybe bugs crawling through, or I'll see right now you'll see the sprouts shooting up, or later in the season you would see snow cover, and it's just you ever see time lapse? I love the natural time lapse videos.
Yeah.
And it's ever changing as we are.
And finally about it, I mean, I think we always are meant as Christians or just good folk to practice selflessness.
Yes.
And I think, like, especially with Earth Day, that's the hardest thing, but it's also the most rewarding thing. Like, if you don't, it's very easy to say, well, it's not bothering me. Well, I don't see any icebergs. What do I care that they're melting? Or, fill in the blank of, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if I throw this plastic out the window?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a selflessness to
future.
Yeah, and just as being a part of a collective group of people doing it. It's, if you go out and pick up one wrapper, it's not going to change anything, but it's that collective unit of love that if everyone picks up a wrapper, then we'll all be happier.
Wear your gloves.
Wear your gloves.
I see people picking up roadside trash without gloves on, and it scares me.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
If you can afford it, get one of those grabbers.
Yeah.
Because you never know. There's needles and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, guys, it is Friday, Earth Day. Oh, you know what? We should have gotten a Dr. Seuss Earth Day book.
Do they have them?
I'm sure. Today is a very special day because it is Friday, as you guys know. And on Friday, we've been doing a very special thing for 18 Fridays now?
Yes.
Wow.
And according to you, 18 Fridays is about
2 months.
2 months.
We do a little thing called Dr. Seuss Friday. We don't have an intro for Dr. Seuss.
No.
On Dr. Seuss Friday, what we do is we find a Dr. Seuss book. Yeah, there's a lot of Dr. Seuss books out there. Did he ever put the pen down?
I know. But you just whispered earlier, we should have got a Dr. Seuss Earth book. I do remember seeing a lot of the Lorax. They keep posting. It's something like, I can't remember now, but it's like, do what you can. If you don't do what you can, who will do it? Something. And I think it was like really being promoted for Earth Day.
Okay.
Something about that.
Well, too bad we're not reading it. But so Dr. Seuss, he wrote a ton of books, children's books, as you know, but they're a little more than children's books. It's not ABC's 1, 2, 3s. It's worlds with interesting characters and people and situations, all of which have a little bit of a deeper meaning.
Yeah, I think it came from Dr. Seuss was a serious author.
Yeah.
And then he made these books. So I think because he was coming from that angle, instead of someone who was coming from the angle of I'm writing for children, he was a writer, and then I could also kind of pare this down for children. There's a clip of Steve Harvey, and he's talking about your gifts. And he's saying how everyone has different gifts, and your gifts could be something that I think it was pretty much, he was saying passion and gifts.
Yeah.
So if your passion is like bicycles, but your gift is I don't know, singing or something like that. It's like that's where your conflict comes in.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was his passion, but it was his gift. Because he was so good at it and connected, and we remember these stories, but not his other
dumb stories. But so with that said, in all of these stories, there's like a deeper meaning that we get. And so we try to go back and look at it with our big brains, maybe our Christian brains or spiritual brains, and we get that meaning out. It's no longer a rhyme for kids. We are going to get a little meaning out of it. And as you guys know, we are currently in the book of Yertle the Turtle and Other Stories, because we like to buy the books with compound stories. And we also like the not-so-known stories. We're like Dr. Seuss hipsters. We're going to be such Dr. Seuss snobs at like functions now.
Yeah.
When like someone brings up Dr. Seuss, it's like, well, have you read Yertle the Turtle and Other Stories? How about Horton and the Cluggerbug and More Lost Stories? Right. Didn't even know that was a thing, now did you?
Right.
We're great at parties. So today, we are reading The Big Brag
Okay.
The big brag. All right. We haven't read this before. This is all new to us.
Yeah, first time hearing it.
Oh, perfect. This is a bunny for Easter.
He's relaxing from last week.
The rabbit felt mighty important that day, on top of the hill in the sun where he lay. He felt so important up there on that hill that he started in bragging as animals will. And he boasted out loud and he threw out his chest. Of all the beasts of the world, I am the best. On land and on sea, even up in the sky, no animal lives who is better than I. What's that? Growled a voice that was terribly gruff. Now why do you say such ridiculous stuff? The rabbit looked down and he saw a big bear. I'm the best of the beasts, said the bear, and so there. You're not, snapped the rabbit. I'm better than you. Pooh, the bear snorted. Again I say pooh. You talk mighty big, Mr. Rabbit, that's true. But how can you prove it? Just what can you do? Thought the rabbit. Now what can I do? He thought, and then he finally said, Mr. Bear, do you see these 2 ears on my head? My ears are so keen and so sharp and so fine, no ears in the world can hear further than mine. Humph, the bear grunted. He looked at each ear. You say that they are good, said the bear with a sneer. But how do I know just how far they can hear? I'll prove, said the rabbit, my ears are the best. You sit there and watch me, I'll prove it by test. Then he stiffened his ears till they both stood up high, and pointed straight up at the blue of the sky. He stretched his ears open as wide as he could. Shh, I am listening, he said as he stood. He listened so hard that he started to sweat, and the fur on his ears and his forehead got wet. For 7 long minutes he stood, then he stirred, and he said to the bear, do you know what I heard? Do you see that far mountain? It's 90 miles off. There's a fly on that mountain. I just heard him cough. Now, the cough of a fly, sir, is quite hard to hear when he's 90 miles off, but I heard it quite clear. So you see, bragged the rabbit, it's perfectly true that my ears are the best, so I'm better than you. The bear for a moment just sulked as he sat, for he knew that his ears could not hear things like that. This rabbit, he thought, made a fool out of me. Now I've got to prove I'm better than he. So he said to the rabbit, you hear pretty well. You can hear 90 miles, but how far can you smell? I'm the greatest of smellers, he bragged to see my nose. This nose on my face is the finest that grows. My nose can smell anything both far and near. With my nose I can smell twice as far as you can hear. You can't, snapped the rabbit. I can, growled the bear, and he stuck his big nose way high up in the air. He wiggled that nose and he sniffed and he sniffed. He waggled that nose as he whiffed and he whiffed. For more than 10 minutes he snaffed and he snuffed. Then he said to the rabbit, I've smelled far enough. All right, said the rabbit, come on now and tell. Exactly how far is that smell that you smell? Oh, I'm smelling a very far smell, said the bear. Away past that fly on the mountain out there. I'm smelling past many great mountains beyond, 600 miles more to the edge of a pond. And way, way out there by the pond you can't see, it's a very small farm. On the farm is a tree. On the tree is a branch, on the branch is a nest, a very small nest where 2 tiny eggs rest. 2 hummingbird eggs, only half an inch long. But my nose, said the bear, is so wonderfully strong. My nose is so good that I smelled without fail that the egg on the left is a little bit stale. And that is a thing that no rabbit can do, so you see, the bear boasted, I'm better than you. My smell is so keen that it just can't be beat. What's that? Called a voice from way down by his feet. The bear and the rabbit looked down at the sound, and they saw an old worm crawling out of the ground. Now, boys, said the worm, you've been bragging a lot. You both think you're great, but I think you are not. You're not half as good as a fellow like me. You hear and you smell, but how far can you see? Now I'm here to prove to you that big boasting guys, that your nose and your ears aren't as good as my eyes. And the little old worm cocked his head to one side, and he opened his eyes and he opened them wide. And they looked far away with a strange sort of stare, as if they were burning 2 holes in the air. The eyes of that worm almost popped from his head. He stared half an hour till his eyelids got red. "That's enough," growled the bear. "Tell the rabbit and me. How far did you look, and just what did you see?" "Well, boys," the worm answered, "that look that I took was a look that I looked farther than you'll ever look. I've looked across the ocean way out to Japan, for I can see farther than anyone can. There's no one on earth who has eyesight that's finer. I looked past Japan, then I looked across China. I looked across Egypt, then took quite a glance across the two countries of Holland and France. Then I looked across England and also Brazil, but I didn't stop there. I looked much farther still. And I kept right on looking and looking until I looked round the world and right back to this hill. And I saw on this hill, since my eyesight's so keen, the two biggest fools that I've ever seen. And the fools that I saw were none other than you, who seem to have nothing else better to do than sit here and argue who's better than who." That's funny.
Yeah, I love it.
A little long one, wasn't it?
No, I didn't think so.
Oh. That was good. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, just right into it. Just the boasting.
The boasting.
The boasting.
Rabbits get a bad rap in children's books, huh?
You know what I always find it interesting? I would like to see the date of when that was published.
Okay.
Because you never really see just normal animals, especially.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
It was a rabbit, a bear, and a worm.
Right.
It wasn't
anything silly.
Quagger bug.
Right.
It was interesting.
Yeah, so rabbits are always challenging other animals in these books.
I know. And when you see them, like when you see a rabbit, I feel like portrayed in like books, they're always like,
yeah.
When you see a rabbit outside, it's just so boring and docile.
It's so docile. We see a lot of rabbits where we live. Boasting.
Yeah, I go right back to, Jeremiah 9:23, where it's, "Thus says the Lord, do not let the wise boast in their wisdom. Do not let the mighty boast in their might. Do not let the wealthy boast in their wealth. But let those who boast in this, that I am the Lord. I have steadfast love, justice, and righteousness, for in these things I delight." And it just goes back to that of they're having a contest, which one, don't get dragged into that boasting contest, and two, they were lying.
And it was interesting to me, like the bear believed the rabbit.
Yeah.
Like, what did you, hear, and then they're asking the worm, what did you see? And then they're just making these huge claims.
Yeah.
And so beware of people who are their best promoter.
Yeah. And I think that is like, even back to the boasting of the Bible verse I just gave. I think that's part of this earthly boasting is that like, it's all just hoopla. You know what I mean? Like, when you're looking at someone and you're envious and they're boasting of their wealth, and it's like, they could be bankrupt. You don't know. Like
right.
It's not important.
Yeah.
It's just it's not what you should be worrying about. It's not what you should be boasting about.
Right, because here's the rabbit, and he said, "I'm the best animal." Now, I don't even know where he got that idea. I mean, you should have confidence. You should have good self-worth and, self-esteem. But when the bear pinned him down to say, "Well, why are you the best?" then he just picked one thing about himself. "Well, I can hear better than anyone can hear."
And that's the other thing that I noticed. It kind of, even though they were lying, they were both using their strengths. Where like it was never a fair contest,
right? It wasn't hearing against hearing.
Yeah, the bunny has big ears, the bear has big nose, and it's that was a little reminiscent for me to that Albert Einstein quote about if you judged a fish on its ability to climb a tree all his life, it would think it was stupid,
right?
And I think that's that because that reminds me of what you were talking about with Dr. Seuss, Steve Harvey. About gifts and what you're good at. And I do think we all have certain gifts that it doesn't make you better than someone else because that's your gift.
Right.
Like back to Albert Einstein's theory of if it's who's a better animal, well, the monkey can climb a tree, but the fish can swim underwater.
Right.
So it's like we are kind of the same.
Right.
And it's not, well, I'm better than you because I can hear. It's like, no, you can hear really far.
Right.
And I can smell really far. And we are
right, to work together.
Yeah.
They would be better to work together on this Earth Day.
On this Earth Day.
If everyone comes together with their own strengths even the worm, who, I mean, that was funny, but he had a wisdom, you know, and also he was like, you know, able to control both of them, bring them back to earth. So if everyone contributes their strength together, they could be, then they really could be the best together instead of, I'm good over here.
Exactly. Yeah. It really goes to this idea of like, and that goes to your beginning statement of like, we should be proud of ourselves. And, cause you were like, you don't want to put yourself down. Like, oh, I'm useless. Like, oh, I'm great. We should, and we always talk about this, we need to love your neighbor. And I always bring up the mirror analogy of like, look at the person in the mirror. That's your neighbor too. And it should be that, like, we should all be confident together, and not saying I'm good, I'm better than you, and then everyone is separated. When, just like Earth Day, which I talked about, I'm like, the point is not to pick up a piece of trash, it's that we all can pick up pieces of trash, and as a earthly community work together for a common moral cause and get things done, and not just sit around and what is the last thing he said? Did I not read the last page? Then the little old worm gave his head a little small jerk and dived in the hole and went back to his work.
I don't think you did.
I didn't read that.
You could.
Okay, well, as I was looking for the thing he said, I didn't read the last page. So I ended with, you have nothing else better to do than to sit here and argue who's better than who. Last page. Then the little old worm gave his head a small jerk, and he dived in his hole and went back to his work. Now, you're probably wondering...
That's bonus for the people who stay late in the podcast.
And you're probably wondering, if Spencer, you saw that, what's the point of reading it now? And I think there's meaning in that.
Okay.
He goes back to his work.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying you guys have nothing better to do. And with boasting, it's not productive. And it's like, we like, you, instead of boasting about how you're so great, you could be spending time working on other things, like, or helping other people. If you're so great at something, you know, like, there's so many things that, and that the thing that goes back to that Bible quote of, not like boasting this, and it's like, you know, you understand and know me, because if you understand and know God, you know what you're meant to be doing.
I would even go so far as to say, you know, the bear was wasting his time by saying, "Prove to me how far you can hear." Because then the bunny ends up lying anyway. So if someone's, you know, when we talk about, when we're looking for a pastor, or if you want a spiritual guide, like, prove to me, they could always lie to you. So you really have to just make up your own decision without them trying to lead you that way. Yeah.
Just get back to work. Go plant some trees. But yeah, that's the end of this book.
Was it printed on recycled paper?
I don't know how I would check that, but I'm sure not. That's the end of Yertle the Turtle and Other Stories. So come back next week for a new era of Dr. Seuss books. Yeah.
Oh, was that the last? That was the last
one of Yertle the Turtle and Other Stories. So who knows what we're reading next Friday? We don't know either. But anyway, guys, go out and plant 7 trees.
7 times 70.
7 times 77.
If you live in Philadelphia, go on Philly Orchard. I think it's called Pop Instagram account. They are giving away free fig and plum trees if you plant them. You know, you need a Philadelphia address and plant in Philadelphia. But it's like a program. I'm sure there's lots of programs like that, but I know about that one.
Yeah, go plant some fig and apple trees.
Plum.
Fig and plum trees. Have a good Friday, guys. Peace. Talk.